Just try. The main thing is to try. That's the basic idea. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Gaura Bhakta. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gaura Bhakta. Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita. Oh no. Happened.
You can't chant like this.
Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Ram. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna. Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare 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 Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. Hare Ram, 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 Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So, thank you. So, in our first session, we hopefully have impregnated or implanted the idea that when I chant, it's important enough to do it well. And secondly, that my spiritual life is very dependent on my chanting well. I'm a weak living entity in a very powerful world. And I can say from my own experience that never underestimate the power of Maya. And I think one of the ways we estimate it is we think, well, she's not going to bother me, which is a form of already being an illusion, that she is bothering me, right? So that question came up this morning in class about humility, depending on Krishna. And so we know the power of Maya and we know the power of our conditioning. But the holy name can help us overcome our conditioning and protect us from the influence of Maya. So if we imbibe deeply within our heart that how necessary, how important it is for me to chant well every day. And we can keep that realization strong, then it becomes easier to chant. Because it's just, you realize when you're sitting down, it's like, I really need this. Like, this is like the exercise. And you're saying, doctor says, walk up the hill. I've got to do this every day. And when I do it, I have to do it right. Because I'm a weak living entity conditioned by the material world. I had a thought. And imagine, you can imagine this. Krishna appoints you as Maya today. So your job is Maya's day. Your job is Maya's job. Today, your job is to keep the devotees in Maya. Illusion. You got it. That's your job, your service, right? So this is what I think I would do, is I would distract them during japa. I would get them to talk to one another, so that they don't chant many rounds in the morning. And I would pretty much try to just like, if they're chanting japa, I would go, look at your phone. You got messages. Put your beads down. You know, if I could just get them to chant very bad rounds, then I would feel like, oh, I did my job today. Because that's the one thing that can protect them from me more than anything. So I'm going to shoot for the jugular vein, as we say, right? Just, you know, whatever the karate move is, that spot, right? Pressure point, and you just fall down. That's the pressure point. Does that make sense to you? Like, this is the Yoga Dharma. If I could just get you to do the Yoga Dharma poorly, you wouldn't get the benefit of it. And so you would just be in my clutches, because you have no defense, right? Yes. So it's good to think like that. Like, this is like really important that I chant well. This is my protection. This is the main thing that will protect me, purify me, uplift me, and this is not something that I can do nonchalantly because we're not carefully, without energy, because it's not really going to work, because I'll be chanting something that sounds like Hare Krishna, but it really isn't. That's what we discussed this morning, more or less, right? So I'm hoping that sticks with you, because if it does, it makes it much easier to chant. Because naturally you just think, oh, here's my chance. I got to do it today, otherwise I'm not going to be doing well. Okay. So I want to help you in increasing your motivation to understand the importance of the holy name. So we're going to do an exercise. So you can bring your phone out or your paper out. I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to have to answer it. But what I would like you to do is, I would like you to, don't start answering the question until I finish the exercise, because there's a way to do it. I want you to think of 5 reasons why chanting is important. But I want you, well, if you're on the phone, you don't have to do this, but if you're on paper, I want you to leave at least 5 spaces between each answer. I said, why is it chanting important? Because it helps me get closer to Krishna. Okay. And then why is it chanting important? Well, it purifies my heart. Okay. Why is chanting important? Because it helps me overcome my weaknesses. Whatever you write down. But leave 5 spaces. Okay? So you'll have 5 items. If you're on a phone, you just naturally, the spaces will come in. So because what you're going to do is, after you get these 5 items, under each item, you're going to write 5 reasons why that item is important. So if my first item is because it helps me love Krishna, then I have to write 5 reasons why loving Krishna is important to me. And my next one is because it brings me closer to Krishna. 5 reasons why that's important. So initially you have 5 reasons. Under each 5 you have 5. Clear? Not clear? Confusing? That means you'll have 30 reasons. And if you start to do the exercise and you get confused, just, I'll be in samadhi, but you can pull me out of samadhi to ask me. Or wake me up, one or the other. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, If you get the same answer under a different category, it's okay. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. When you finish, then what you're going to do is find a partner and share your realization. If you didn't have any realization, then think about what you just did. Yeah, just talk with your partner about the exercise and what you got from it or what you could get from it. If you didn't get something, it's a reflection on the exercise, which is aimed at trying to increase your motivation to chant well. And maybe while you're talking, maybe some new ideas will come up and you can write them down. Make all the noise you want. Then if you want to go outside, you can talk outside also. Find a partner. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. We're doing exercise.
Okay.
So you write 5 things, 5 reasons why chanting is important.
Okay.
And then, under each reason, you have 5 reasons. Under each reason, you write 5 reasons why that reason is important. Okay, 5 reasons.
Okay.
Under 5 other reasons why that reason is important.
5 reasons why it's important to chant.
And then
And
5
then
reasons.
for every reason why it is. Okay.
5 more reasons.
Okay.
So you have 30 reasons. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And then when you finish, you find someone and then you share.
Exchange.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram,
Das ist so schön ehrlich. Das ist für mich. Das ist was für ein Kraftkrishna vor allem bei den Links davor gemerkt, dass ich halt also allein Sag mal, als war? Der kämpft das.
Ja, gut.
German is getting better. More fluent.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we want to hear from you. Whatever. The reason we want to hear from you is because we all have different realizations. And hearing from you will inspire all of us. And it's just part of the process that we do an exercise and then we share realizations. And sometimes someone comes up with a point and you think, oh, that's a good point, and you write it down. Right? So like, we're all, we don't think of everything. So would anyone like to share? Whatever you would like to say, maybe what we could do is kind of take all these 30 and like kind of summarize like how, the idea is like this paper, you want to keep this with you, and when you need motivation you can read it and say, remember, this is why I'm chanting, because the why is everything, isn't it? When you lose the why, all the motive is in the why, isn't it? Yes? You know the story, the two bricklayers, they're building a cathedral, and one was asked, what are you doing? He said, oh, it's just a monotonous job. I just place one brick on top of another, so boring. And the other one was asked, what are you doing? He said, oh, we're building this beautiful cathedral. It's going to be amazing, and millions of people are going to come and get purified. So the why was different. The first one was just to make money. The second was to build this beautiful cathedral. So our whys are where our motives come from. And so we need strong whys to be motivated. And what's really interesting and very important is if you've ever thought you're lazy, probably you're not lazy, it's just you don't have a why that's motivating you, or the why is not strong enough. Because, there are some bona fide lazy people, but you're not one of them, believe me.
How do you know?
Because, it's too hard to be a devotee. You can't, if you're trying to be a devotee, you can't be lazy. but it may look like laziness because you're not doing something that motivates you, or you don't have you're not in the right ashram or the right temple. There's something. So that's why we did this exercise, because if you can energize your why, the reasons, then it's like, oh, this is why I'm chanting. I think for some of us, it's like remembering, why did I become a devotee? Oh, this is why. It gives you energy. Does that make sense? So we kind of want to connect with your whys. If you could share your whys, that would help us. So, yes, Jayadev.
So, if I summarize it, it's first of all to find freedom from the lower modes of nature.
Yeah.
And connection with Guru, connection with Prabhupada, teaching, the whole connection, being connected.
Yeah.
The opposite of being completely disconnected in this world. And guidance, to have the guidance and the mercy, and ultimately Krishna. Yeah. To connect with Krishna, to find out about Krishna, to find relationship with Krishna.
Those are all really good reasons. What do you think? Yes? Yeah. I especially like the one to get the mercy. So I'm always looking for mercy wherever I can get it. Because one of my deepest realizations is everything is dependent on mercy. Like impossible becomes possible with mercy, possible becomes impossible without mercy. Thank you. I think it's a really important realization. The mercy you can get from the holy name, it's so powerful. And it's so necessary that I don't want to minimize it. I want to get as much of it as I can, as full a dose as I can. Right? Yes? milligrams, megagrams, whatever. I want to get the full dose. Thank you. Who else would like to share?
Yeah, I would like to share maybe some points. One point, why I'm chanting is it helps me, or it helps us remembering Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
When I chant the whole day, I personally chant everywhere I go. So when I have Krishna's names on my tongue, I can't forget him.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a big problem if you forget Krishna.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very important to remember him. Chanting keeps us remembering Krishna.
The best way to remember.
Yeah. And another point is
Jai Sri Sri Vijay Gauranga Dayal Nitai. Hare Krishna.
it helps us to develop love for everyone, for Radha Krishna, of course, because in the material world we are all more or less in lack of love, and that is a very important point.
Yes. You can actually, if you allow yourself, you can feel Krishna's love.
Yeah.
It's like the holy name is a huge manifestation of his love, because his holy name is like calling us back. Please come back. Here's the holy name. This will take you back to me. Thank you. Who else? You get more prasadam if you share. No, we should have like, premium class and, coach class for prasadam. And if you share, you get premium, like serve first, a little extra, one prep no one else gets, first class, Who else wants to go? Yes.
I also shared it just now. It's a reason which I which was hard for me to accept it as a reason, but it first came to my mind. It was a vow given to my spiritual master.
Why was it hard?
Because of my inner judgment. Okay, that's a poor reason.
Oh.
Because it's it comes from the mind, or it feels like it's coming from the mind. But then, in writing down the reasons under that, it felt beautiful for me, because it helped me to connect to my spiritual master. So the reasons I wrote down under there were that it gives me strength in my spiritual life to follow the vow I gave to my spiritual master. It will weaken if I not follow. It is my eternal connection to him. It will make him happy if I chant. And that for him it was so important to chant his 16 rounds till the last breath.
What a good example.
Yeah. Really beautiful.
Yeah. I was with a devotee, I can't remember who, but it must have been in Poland. He's a disciple of your Guru Maharaj. And he said, the last thing, he was having trouble following, and the last thing he said, Kadambakanda Swami said, is, you promised. No guilt, you know. But sometimes that's necessary. This is beautiful that you tapped into that and used that to motivate you. Because sometimes it doesn't motivate us. And we make an excuse and say, well, you know, I didn't know what I was doing, etc. But we take vows to motivate us. Or we take vows to ensure that we'll do something that we would want to do our whole life, and we want to make sure we do it, so we take a vow. Because if I don't take the vow, I might not do it, right? I think most of the devotees in ISKCON would not chant 16 rounds a day if they didn't take the vow, because some days you don't have time, isn't it? Or some days you have time, but you don't feel like it. But because you took the vow, because we take the vow, it's like, okay, I have to do it. And that's the power of vows. So if you take a vow, you should think, you know, this vow is really empowering if I actually allow myself to follow it, right? It's so wonderful. And, you know, maybe we, by our conditioning, feel like not following a vow, but we think, but I promised my Guru Maharaj I would do it, so I'm going to do it. That's beautiful. I'll tell you a story. It's a beautiful story of a vow. And it's based on the reality that, I don't know how long it was, maybe 100, 150 years ago, when business people made a deal, they didn't have contracts. They only had handshakes. That was the contract. Because the level of, it's like, you know, if you said you're going to do it, it was the culture, you know. The people were different 100, 150 years ago. They, you know, it was like a civilized person, if they said, I'm going to do it, they did it. And you didn't need a contract, right? So, if we could evolve to that position where whatever we say we do, that is perfect. Because that can be so empowering. So here's a story about a man from that generation. He's no longer alive. I would say now he'd probably be like over 100. 100 maybe? Yeah. He was, well, yeah, because he hosted Prabhupada, and he was maybe like 50 in 1970. So yeah, he would be like close to 100 now, if he were alive. So he had given, in Mauritius, he had given some land to us. And we built a farm on the land. And his wife did not want him to give it to us. And the only way he could give it to us, and she didn't know, is it was in his will. Because according to law, he couldn't give it, but he could give it in the will. So she didn't know that he willed the land to us. So, he was pretty dedicated. And he was at the time Prabhupada came, he was a member of parliament. And so it's a small country, and he knows everyone in the country that is in government. So if we had problems, we could call him up, and he, it's like, my visa ran out, and I overstayed my visa, and I didn't notice, and I'm going to get kicked out. And he goes, so you call him up, and he talks to the immigration office, and they just give you a new visa. I mean, it's a small country. It's like that. You need a seat on an airplane. It's full. They'll kick somebody off, and you'll go on. It's something like that, right? So one day we were talking, and he was reminiscing about how devotees always called him when they had problems. But a lot of the problems were their own doing. They made the problem. It's like a little kid. He makes a mistake. He calls the father. He's embarrassed, and the father has to save him. So it was like that. So he was saying, he said, you devotees, you made so many mistakes. You did so many stupid things. And every time I saved you from it. It was like so much he was reflecting. Like it happened so many times. Like, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. And so he said, I don't know. He was reflecting like how much he helped us. And he said, I don't even know why I continue to help you. You ever said that? It's like, I don't even know why I'm talking to you. You're such a disturbance. It was like you're thinking out loud. And then 30 seconds later, he said, yeah, I do know why I'm helping you. He said, because I promised Prabhupada. So the mood, the way I felt it and understood it was like, I wanted to help you because I'm a Hindu and I want to see Hinduism spread and I like what you're doing, but you've misused me, and that's it. I'm just like, but even though I don't want to do this and I'm frustrated and fed up, I'm doing it only because I promised Prabhupada I would do it. Isn't that interesting? So then you see the power of a vow. That even you come to the point you don't want to do it, but you can't go back on it because you gave your word. That's beautiful. That's what it means to take a vow. So I think that's such a beautiful example. And if you ever get initiated and you're not initiated, and you take your vow in that mood, that I am, what I say is what I do, no matter what, then you'll be able to follow that vow, and that vow will empower you your whole life. Right? Thank you. Beautiful. Who else would like to share? Yes?
Actually, lots of reasons were already mentioned.
Okay.
But I would add two things.
Okay.
That chanting is a feeling of pure love. When I do it, I feel that I consist of love.
Oh, nice.
And I feel love of Krishna, and I feel all this connection in pure absolute love. That's the main reason why I do it.
That's a good reason.
And it's the only thing I can really focus because I have ADHD.
Oh, okay.
So before Krishna came to my life, I was thinking that I'm kind of freak, ill and different.
ADHD?
Yes.
Yeah, it's hard to focus.
Yes, and actually the most difficult thing for me is to turn off my mind and to focus, but I try to do my best, and chanting and really being in love is the main thing and the only thing that
Keeps your focus? Oh,
It's
yeah.
the only thing.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think that's such a good point. Because earlier we were talking about emotion versus thinking. So to feel Krishna's love, like both of you said, that's a very powerful emotion if we can allow ourselves to feel it. And the love is there in the holy name. It's just a question of allowing yourself to feel it. It's there. And, you know, Krishna doesn't know how not to love. Like we know how not to love. We know how to hate. We know how to kill. We know how to lie, steal, cheat. Krishna doesn't know how to do that. Even when Putana came to kill him, he liberated her. He doesn't, well, she came and she was like a mother to me, so even though she came to kill him, he can't hate. He can only love. So Krishna sees our condition in Kali Yuga, and he extends his love to us through the holy name, because that's the only thing for us that's going to work to bring us back to him. And that love comes in the form of, I miss you, I want you, I want a connection, you're my eternal part and parcel, son, daughter. We have a relationship and you've left and I want that relationship back, I miss it. And so the love manifests in the holy name because it's Krishna's heart and his desire to pull us, because that's what the holy name does, it pulls us to him. You know, if I said, come here, and I threw a rope and I started pulling, you say, oh, he really wants me to come, right? He's like, no, I want to see you, come, you know. So it's like that. The holy name is pulling, it's Krishna pulling at us, right? So when you chant, if you allow yourself to feel Krishna's desire for you to go back to him, you will, and feel it through the holy name that this is how he shows his desire for us. It's an amazing experience, right? And you made two other points that were so good. You say that maybe I don't know how to focus, but I can focus on that feeling. And in fact, we always focus on our feeling, right? Isn't it? If you have a pain in your knee right now that's really bad, you're focused on your knee, isn't it? If you have an emotion that's really strong, you're focused on that emotion. You can't not be. It's overpowering, right? How can you not focus on a strong emotion? So this is a secret. You've revealed the secret. A woman with ADHD can be focused because she's connected with a feeling. That's beautiful. That was the point I was making to you, but it makes it even better now. That the feeling is you focus on the feeling that Krishna loves you. Now, why does Krishna love you? What did you do to get the love? You know what you did? It's really easy. You just existed. That's your qualification. The qualification for Krishna's love is you exist. You're a spiritual being. You exist, right? So, there is an English Christian song about the mercy of Jesus, and the whole song is about how I don't deserve the mercy. And it's amazing that you even care about me. Because look at me, look at who I am. I don't care about you. Why would you care about me? You know, it's like if there's this guy on YouTube, I don't know if you've seen him, he finds like homeless people, he asks them a question and say, you know, if you answer this, it's an easy question, just, you know, tell me what the most important thing you've learned in life, and if you tell me, I'll give you $500. And the people think, oh, this guy's just joking, but whatever. I'll tell him, and then he gives them $500. And the people are like, no. And they try to give it back, like, I don't deserve this. Like, I just answered a question. What? And they're saying like, no, so I want you to have it. And he'd say, and they're bewildered. They say, why would you want me to have it? And then the guy says, you need it, right? He said, yeah. He said, that's why I want you to have it. So it's kind of like that, like Krishna, like, why would you love me? Like, I'm just a homeless person. I left you in the material world. Why would you love me? So in this Christian song, it says, the chorus is something like, not because of what we've done, but because of who you are. You know, the mercy of Jesus, like, you're saving us. Not because of what we've done, but because of who you are. Not because of who we are, but because of what you've done. Of course, for them, it's like dying on the cross. But we can summarize that and say, Krishna loves us not because of who we are, but because of who he is. And so sometimes we think, Krishna doesn't love us. Why would he love us? I don't even like myself. Why would he like me? I'm so bad. It's natural that we would think this way, but it's not how he thinks. So why does he love us? Because of, that's what he is. He loves. There's no other explanation. You don't need another explanation, right? You don't love Krishna, he still loves you. Because why? Because that's his nature. You left Krishna millions of lifetimes ago. You tried to imitate him, compete with him, and he lets you become a devotee, and he lets you chant his name, and he actually wants you to be a devotee, and he helped you be a devotee. He was the one who guided you. The very person that you ran away from has helped you become a devotee. He's in your heart, guiding you, taking you to the temple, meet devotees, right? So now, if you can chant the holy name and allow yourself to feel that love, that's the greatest love. Like, there's no love greater than that, right? And so there'll be no experience greater than the feeling Krishna's love. Like, Krishna actually loves me, and he wants me to go back to Godhead. And not only does he want me, he's waiting. And he's wondering when I'm coming back. Now think of this. This is very interesting. If you read Bhagavad Gita in the context of what I just said, that Krishna is asking us to go back to God, and if you read it in that context, and you start reading the verses, you'll start to see, oh, okay, Krishna is asking us to come back, and he's showing us how to do it. So the Bhagavad Gita is like an invitation to a party along with the directions. Well, more than a party. It's an invitation to come stay on my little vacation island, and I have a house for you, and here are the directions. So Krishna's, he's advertising it, saying there's no birth, disease, old age, or death there. Would you like to go? It's good. I'm there. It's eternal. It's blissful. And if you just think of me, worship me, offer your obeisances unto me, then I'll take you there. So if anyone thinks Krishna doesn't love them, then the question I would have for you is, why did he speak Bhagavad Gita? Like, why did he even bother to come here and speak Bhagavad Gita if he didn't care? That's such a strong indication of how much he cared. And when you look at Bhagavad Gita, it's just, please come back. And this is how to do it, and I'm waiting for you. That's what it is, isn't it? Really? So interesting. So if you have a doubt that Krishna loves you, you understand it's not your qualification. It's because he loves. And then further proof is that the Bhagavad Gita is just an invitation, please come back to me. And then he comes as Mahaprabhu, because Bhagavad Gita didn't seem to be enough for people. So we need to do something else. So he comes as Mahaprabhu, and he says, okay, you don't have to surrender, just chant. You don't have to follow any principles, just chant, dance, it's okay. He asked gopis, manjaris, to come down, and they become sadhus. And Mahaprabhu speaks to them, and they write all this literature. Like, why is he bothering to do that? And then ultimately he sends Prabhupada for everybody outside of India. And you think Krishna doesn't care about you? Right? And then somehow you're like, one day, every devotee had this moment, oh God, if you're real, show me, because everything is really bad, and I need to know. Whether it's just I need to know knowledge, or it is my life is a mess. And then what happens, 3 minutes later, have you seen a Bhagavad Gita before? And it's like, oh, that was fast. That happened to all of us, right? you know, or something, you're somewhere, you meet a devotee, or you don't like a devotee and all day you're thinking, those devotees, I don't like them. You can't stop thinking about them. Or something. Krishna arranges, right? He arranges this happened, then this happened, then that happened, then this happened, then that happened, and this happened. And you go back and you realize, if all those things didn't happen, you just remove one of those, I probably wouldn't be a devotee, right? Like 6 things had to happen, maybe for you 8, maybe for you 3, but you realize if one of those didn't happen, it would have been difficult. And then we understand, Krishna must have arranged all those things. Just happened to be here at this concert and got a book and this. One devotee, he's a disciple of Prabhupada, he's been distributing books since before he was a devotee. He met devotees at a gas station and they were going to a concert and he said, can I get a ride? So the devotee said, sure. They got to the concert, they said, we're distributing these books, can you help us? He said, sure. He went out on Sankirtan. He said, we're going back to the temple, why don't you just come back with us? He went back and stayed, and to this day he's still distributing books. We all have our stories, right? Those stories are proof that Krishna loves you. Yes? So now, I like to say that you don't have to worry whether Krishna loves you. It's not an issue, he does. It doesn't matter what you've done, he loves you. You have to be pretty bad for him to like go, okay, that's a little too much, you know. We're going to send, you know, we're going to come down as Lord Nrsingadev and take care of you, you know. You got to be bad, right? So, Krishna loving us is not an issue. Nothing we have to do, it just is. So what's the problem then? The problem is not, does Krishna really love me or not? I'm not sure. I'm so like such a rascal, so unworthy. No, that's not an issue. It doesn't compute in Krishna's mind. He loves you. What is the problem? Problem is very simple. I don't love Krishna. That's it, right? We don't have to go off that Krishna doesn't love me, I'm such a rascal. Don't even go there. It's a waste of energy. Where you need to go is, I don't love Krishna. Right? Now, I want to share a realization here. It's quite interesting. We know some devotees think Krishna doesn't love them. Right? How could Krishna love me? And so I started thinking, I thought, I wonder that maybe unconsciously someone might say Krishna doesn't love me because he doesn't love me, I don't have to love him. Yes? Right? Why should I love him? He doesn't love me. It's like there's no guilt at all. I don't have to serve him because there's nothing I'm reciprocating with, because it's just he doesn't love me, I don't love him, and you know, I'm going to the beach, you know, just like have a good time, right? But if Krishna loves me, then it's like, oh. And I don't love him back, then it's like, oh, this is not good, right? But when you're chanting, just as you were saying, it's like a circle. I feel Krishna's love, I give it back. I feel Krishna's love, I give it back. It's a very beautiful way to chant. And one of the things that I often do when I chant or I often pray for, I think like, Krishna, you have a lot of love for me, and I like pretty much have like this much. And I don't think that's fair to you. So, Hare Krishna, can you help me love you? Because I know you want me to love you. I know that's what you want. So Hare Krishna, can you help me develop that love? Not just because I want it, because you want it, and I want to reciprocate. Because right now it's unfair. You're loving me, and I'm just like, whatever, you know. I'm falling asleep while I chant, and you're loving me. This is not good. Can you help me love you? So if you can feel Krishna's love when you chant, coming in the holy name, and then you can try to offer that love back, it's a very amazing experience, right? And even if you have ADHD, you can feel that love and be focused on it, and your attention will be on the feeling, right? Yes, more or less.
Yeah, but still, you know, I'm always trying not to be so really strict to myself, because I know that usually I have lots of things, not only in my mind, also in my heart, and it's also because of my both hemispheres being active in the brain. So I really try not to be that strict, that I restrict myself.
Yeah, hard on yourself.
And I hope he's not
throwing thunderbolts at you?
Angry. But I'm doing that, maybe not perfect, but I know that I have this intention in my heart to do it better, and I think it's the most important, isn't it?
100%. Thank you. She is saying that sometimes my mind is not in my control, but I'm trying to chant sincerely. And that chanting sincerely is more important than, or trying to be sincere is more important than how well I control my mind or not. Yeah, that's true. You know, and I would also say, pray for mercy to help you. Krishna, help me. So I can hear your name, I can feel your mercy, and that I can always be positive. Now, as a conditioned soul, we are going to have habits which we've cultivated in former lives. And those habits, those distractions, those tendencies are normal, because it would be quite abnormal to become a devotee, chant Hare Krishna for a few days, and it's all gone, like millions of lifetimes just gone. I mean, it could happen if you chant some good rounds, but generally it takes a little bit of time. And so it's important to recognize it's normal. Then you can, like you're saying, if you recognize this is normal, but I just have to try my best. And sometimes the devotee who has the most trouble is the one who's trying the hardest, because they have the most trouble, so they have to try harder. But they're trying harder, but they're not doing as well as someone who's not trying hard, who's just like in a better place. So the one who's worse off is actually trying harder. And Krishna notices how hard you try. That's what he sees. So that's important to recognize. Because if Krishna just looked at you and go, okay, let's check you out here. What did you do today? Only 16 rounds. You could do better. You only gave out one book. You could do better. You slept 8 hours. You could do better. You ate 4 chapatis. You could do better. It's not how Krishna looks at us. That's how we look at ourselves, maybe. You know, we might judge ourselves that way. Krishna doesn't look that way. Krishna looks at, well, how hard were you trying? Why were you doing it? What's your motive? That's the most important thing Krishna looks at. Why? Why did you do it? Why did you chant? Why did you serve? What was your reason? And if the reason is, well, I was just trying to please you, that's perfect. That's what Krishna sees. And you're like, okay. So Prabhupada said, it's not material qualification, it's sincerity of purpose. That's the main thing. So, you know, when we chant, we're just trying to be sincere. Krishna, like, help me. Like, I want to love you. I'm a mess. You love me. It's so embarrassing. I just take from you. Help me have the desire to give back. I just want to repay you. I want to reciprocate. So, in thinking about this, I thought we could define bhakti very simply. If someone says, what is bhakti, or what is spirituality, or what is religion, we could say, God loves you, and just pay him back. Religion, spirituality is just the process of paying him back. The process of reciprocating with it. God loves you, try to reciprocate. That's bhakti, that's spirituality, that's religion. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Don't you think? I mean, when you cook down Bhagavad Gita, that's basically what you cook it down to. Krishna loves you and he wants you to love him. And live happily ever after in love. What else could it be? You want to go back to Godhead and not love Krishna? That's not going to work. Right? So Krishna says, I love you. And his next question is, will you love me back? Because that's what I want. Okay. Let me try. That's bhakti. And let me do the things that awaken the love. That's bhakti. Thank you. Hare Krishna. What's your name?
Yaroslava. Slava.
Teroslava?
Yeah.
Teroslava.
Yaroslava.
Teroslava.
It's Ukrainian name.
What does it mean?
Bright glory.
Wow. Bright glory. It sounds very Sanskrit. Like, what's the word for effulgence in Sanskrit? I'm going brain dead. Anybody know? Brilliance in Hindi, what is brilliance? Jyoti? Jyoti Jaya. Glorious effulgence. Jyoti Jaya. Jyoti Jaya. There's another word also. I'm thinking of another word. Don't go away. I want to find this word. I think it's even nicer. It's for brilliance. Brilliance means bright light. Hold on. Oh no. It's not translated in a verse. All right. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. Wait. Maybe we'll find it. Wow, that's interesting. Teja Aspadam, source of brilliance. That's already your name, right? What was the first part of your name?
Bright.
In Ukrainian, what?
Yaro.
Yaro. All right. Yaro. A source of brilliance. There's another word for brilliance I'm looking for. 1 second. Prabha. Prabha also. Prabha. Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagannatha. Prabha. Prabha Jaya. Glorious effulgence. Okay. Now you have 2 names. Pick your favorite one. Okay. Someone else like to share? These realizations are beautiful, and I think it's really important that we hear from as many of you as possible. Yes?
One of the things I wrote is it puts me in the right consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Why I want to be in right consciousness? Because I can make all the people that live with me or are around me happy.
Mm-hmm.
I can share. I can be peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Live a peaceful life and be peaceful with myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's most important to be able to share and give.
Mm-hmm. Compassion. It awakens compassion. It awakens the consciousness that I need to be better and to do my service. Yeah. So that you're very dependent on the holy name. Completely, right? I feel the same way. You know, if you're a teacher, as many of us are, a lot of your success depends on your realization, not just your theoretical knowledge, because anybody could read the book, but you have to explain it. And a lot of what you explain comes through your practice and the insights that Krishna reveals from within the heart. Because Krishna is the Chaita Guru, the Guru in the heart. So Krishna gives us so many realizations. All those realizations you have, that's Krishna speaking to you. Or giving you intelligence, right? So if we're teachers, we're very, very dependent, if not entirely dependent, on realization. And so and how do you get realization? You have to be in good consciousness, right? Otherwise. Sometimes I say to a devotee, what's your realization? And they'll say, I don't have any. It's not a good sign. Say, Prabhu, Mataji, what's your realization? My realization is, I don't have any realization. You ever have that realization? Yeah, that's not a good sign, right? Whereas if you're vibrant in Krishna consciousness, you're like, nobody can shut you up. You're like, oh, I got to tell you what happened. I was chanting, I did this and that, and I had this realization. Isn't it? You ever have that experience? Right, yeah. So if we want to share Krishna consciousness, we need realization. If we want to be an example, we need realization. So this is such a good point, because we're all more or less in this situation, and so we all really depend on the holy name to give us what we need to be better and to show up better for others and to help others through our knowledge, understanding, realization, and practice. Right? Like a lot of times I'll give class and I'll share something with the devotees, and I'll say, you know, if you asked me to give this class 30 years ago, I wouldn't have realized that. I couldn't have shared that with you. It took like 50 years to realize that. So however long it takes you to realize something, that's like a gem which you can give to other people. And those realizations come from your practice, right? And the better your practice, the deeper the more and the deeper your realization. You ever hear a class and the realization's so deep, you're like knocked over, and you're so grateful? It's like, wow, that's amazing. You know, and you feel like you're looking at the devotee who's speaking. It's like, how did you realize that? That's so deep. And you understand, oh, he's a good devotee. He's, you know, Krishna's really guiding them. He must be chanting some good rounds to have these realizations, isn't it? He's doing something, or she's doing something. I don't know what it is. Yeah, well, one of the things they're doing is they're chanting good rounds, for sure. For sure. Thank you. That's beautiful. Hare Krishna. It's getting better all the time. Who would like to share next?
Maybe I can share one realization.
Yes.
So chanting keeps me calm and peaceful in office life and also in household life. So to deal with kids and wife and colleagues in the office.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps
Yeah.
a lot.
More tolerance.
Tolerance, yeah. It gives a lot of tolerance. Even when you know that it's not your fault, but even in that state, it keeps us peaceful and
More kindness, compassion, tolerance. Yeah. It's manifesting. It's helping us manifest. At least it's helping us practice, right? It's helping us practice the qualities of a Vaishnava. Yeah. You know, one of the qualities of a devotee is he's kind to all living entities, not just his wife. He's kind to the ants and, you know, the trees, everyone. But sometimes it's hard to be kind to your wife, isn't it? It's easier to be kind to his wife than your own, right? And so that is a huge challenge. And I think as devotees, it's really important for us to look at ourselves and say, okay, I'm practicing bhakti, but am I becoming kind? Am I becoming tolerant? Am I compassionate? And hopefully the answer is yes, but if the answer is not yes, then we have to look, what's wrong? Why am I not like this? And maybe it's the chanting. That maybe if we chant better, we'll be kinder. sometimes devotees will tell me stories of something they've done that I would never do, or something they said that I would never say, or the way they treated someone, that I would never treat someone like that. Like, you couldn't pay me to treat someone like that. And I'm not saying anything to them, I'm just looking at them and going like, are you chanting your rounds? Because it doesn't seem like it, because this is not the way devotees act. You ever have that experience? With yourself or with others? It's like, really? You said that? Like, and then because I teach japa, then I think, either you're not chanting or your rounds are so bad, it's just like there's no effect. And I think that's an important reflection on all of us, that I'm chanting, so how is it manifesting? And maybe if it's not manifesting the way it should, maybe there's something wrong with my chanting, or something wrong somewhere in the mix that I need to find. Where's this problem coming from? Because if I'm progressing in bhakti, I should be more tolerant, I should be kinder, I should be more compassionate. But sometimes it's the opposite. Like, I'm watering the weeds, isn't it? You know what's like such a problem in spiritual life, that sometimes when you advance, you're also advancing your material side. It's like you're becoming more Krishna conscious and you're becoming more proud that you're Krishna conscious. It's like two opposites are going on at the same time. And so we want to be aware of these things. And if that's happening, that's a reflection. Like, why is this happening? It shouldn't be. I should be becoming more humble, not more proud. I have a little skit for you. I'm going to chant, and I'm going to chant like I'm very humble. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama. And I'm thinking, this is the little cloud, the comic cloud. I hope everyone's seeing how nicely I'm chanting. Hare Krishna. I hope they're learning how a great devotee chants. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, if you ever are in a situation like that, where you do something very pure and become proud in a bad way, in a false ego way, not proud in a good way, but in a bad way, like I'm demonstrating here. Am I thinking of Krishna? No, I'm just thinking of all of you are thinking how great I am. Hare Krishna. Did they recognize how great I am? Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna. Nobody chants like this in the temple. Krishna, Krishna. Are they seeing it? If they see it, they'll chant better. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So what am I thinking of right now? What am I meditating on? Krishna? No. False ego. Right? Correct? So, now, if that happens to me, if that happens to you or something similar, shouldn't we think, oh, red flag, alarms go off, there's something wrong? We should, right? What if we don't? Double trouble. First, there's something wrong, and number two, I don't even notice it, and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. And my ego's getting bigger with every round. You ever have that experience? This is really funny. Well, it's not funny, it's sad, but it's funny in an interesting way. Have you ever experienced, like, there's a devotee or someone that you feel strongly is wrong about something? They're wrong, they did the wrong thing, this is not good. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Wrong. You ever chanted like that? With every beat of the mantra, they're becoming more wrong. Anyone have experienced that? And by the time you finish your 16 rounds, you are 108% convinced you are right and they are wrong. And that was your meditation. Has anyone, okay, I won't embarrass you, but yeah, it happens it does happen, right? So the result of your chanting is you became more adamant that you were right. Not more empathetic, more understand. You would think after chanting my rounds, well, maybe, they have a point, and maybe I was a little black and white, and maybe I should have listened. You think that's what should come out of japa, but sometimes the opposite comes. Isn't that interesting? So what mantra were you chanting? I have no idea. I think you were chanting the mantra, I'm right and they're wrong. It just sounded like Hare Krishna. What do you think? Possible? We're going to talk about that after lunch. Yeah, very possible. Not only is it very possible, that's what you were chanting. Just in case you didn't notice. So the point we're making is that these kinds of reflections are important. If I am at the office and mad and angry at everybody, it's okay because I'm a devotee and they're not. So I can yell at anybody, right? Because I'm a devotee. Devotees are always good and right. You ever think like that? That is very dangerous. We talked about that in class this morning. I'm a devotee, therefore what I do is good. In theory, yeah, but not practically, not always. And if I do something bad and I think it's good, that's a huge problem, obviously. So, something for you to reflect on, that maybe if I'm not progressing the way I should be, maybe it's a reflection of my japa. And if I am progressing well, maybe it's a reflection that I'm chanting well. That's at least something to look at, right? Yeah. You're good. What's the difference between ya and yavolt? It's the same thing? Or it has a different flavor, different feeling. Yavolt's like heavy.
Yeah. It's like being in the army. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because we get all our German from the World War II movies. That's all we know.
And it's all.
Okay. Someone had their hand up? Yes.
Just one question. So, is it the effect of the offenses while chanting that the pride can come?
Yeah. If you want to understand pride, it's so interesting. Because the desire to be recognized is so strong that I could be chanting a mantra that's designed to make me humble and it makes me proud because I see a way my ego can be boosted through chanting because people will think I'm an advanced devotee and I take advantage of it. Because the desire to be honored is so strong, I'll take advantage of it even in a process that's supposed to make me humble. Wow! Isn't that interesting? How crazy pride is? So we might say, this situation triggers my ego, right? But the thing is, the ego's ready. It's always ready. It's always looking for a way to expand its influence, isn't it? Like someone says, I don't want to do that because it makes me proud. And I say, no, it's not that makes you proud. You already are proud, and that just stimulates the existing pride. It doesn't make you proud. That would not make you proud if you were not proud. Like something is not going to puff up your ego if your ego is not looking for it. Does that make sense? I can't do this because I'll become proud. No. I am proud, and when I do this, it stimulates my pride. That's the proper understanding, right? So when I am a proud person and I'm looking for honor, then I look for it wherever I can get it. Even I'll go on the altar and do artik with a little flair, I'll have the right chadar, the proper tilak, big tilak, South Indian, And it's like, hey everybody, don't look at Krishna, look at me. Right? And sometimes in some temples, we tell the pujari, could you just like go way off to the side so we don't see you? Because we want to focus on Krishna, you know. So we should understand that what's happening is we have such a desire to be honored that we'll even use the spiritual process to get it. And the process is not the stimulus. Anything can stimulate it because it exists. It's not like, well, I wasn't proud this morning and I had this opportunity to artik and I kind of got carried away. No. It's not like that. You wouldn't get carried away if the pride wasn't there in the first place. It's just an opportunity to get recognition. So that's how pride works. We take advantage of opportunities to be recognized. And we think it's the situation that made me proud. No, it was an opportunity to get some recognition, and you just took advantage. The pride was already there. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. In the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada said, a pauper is proud of his penny. A pauper is a homeless person, a poor person. What does it take for a poor person to become proud? It takes 1 penny, or whatever your money is here. What is it? Oh, you have euros. You have cents. So it takes 1 cent for a pauper to, hey, I have 1 cent. Hey, look at me, I'm rich, right? Isn't that interesting? So what does it take you to become proud? Well, all I have to do is buy a cool chadar and wear it to the temple. Then I'm like, that's all it takes. 1 cool chadar, and I can walk in. Nobody's got a chadar like this, you know. Right? That's all it takes, isn't it? Yes? You understand? Yeah. But the point that we're making was, this is a reality because we're conditioned souls. Okay, you know, it's funny, it's a reality, it's sad, it just is what it is. But the problem is not to recognize it, and the problem is not to do anything about it. Like you're saying, it's there, we're conditioned souls. Okay, it's there. But to not recognize it and go, at least I recognize that I'm doing this. That's not good. Okay, I'm a conditioned soul, I do it. It's whatever, I'm working on it. But to not recognize it, that's not good, is it? Someone had their hand up? Yes.
So I find it very interesting, the topic about pride. It's like an addiction that is within us and searching for its ways to get fuel.
Yeah. That's that we were saying last night. Pride is why we came here. So you have this frequency, pride. You fall into the material world because of pride. And then it is the energy which is my energy to compete with God is pride. And my energy to love God is humility. And they're like different universes apart. Which is why the more materialistic a person is, the more they tend to be proud. The more advanced a person is spiritually, the more they tend to be humble. It's the natural consequence. So we're trying to go to purify the pride, and we're trying to become humble. And it's important to know that the door to the spiritual world doesn't open for proud people. It opens for humble people. So you can get the satisfaction of being honored, but you'll be honored with another body also. So you can come back and get honored again. And again, and again, as long as you want that honor. You know, we say, Jai Sri Krishna, don't we? Jai Krishna, Krishna. Jai Krishna, Jai Sri Krishna. We say Jai Krishna. What does that mean? That means all glories to Krishna, right? So I'm doing the artik, you know. Jai Krishna, and 10% Jais to me, okay? Because I do it nice, right? Isn't it? Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, it's a reality. I understand it. Now that I understand humility is the goal. I try to understand how to act humbly, fake it till I make it in a real way, be nicer to people, more respectful, appreciate devotees, not look for honor myself, just be genuine, not pretend to be someone I'm not, because that's a real insidious aspect of pride is to pretend, and it's one of the worst things you can do. It's considered one of the big obstacles to bhakti is pretend to be somebody you're not, to pretend to be more Krishna conscious than you're not, to hide your faults. I have faults. Oh, this story, such a beautiful story. We're going to have prasadam if it's ready in 5 minutes. We need to send a scout. Can you scout and see? Do you know if prasadam's ready? Do you know if it's ready, prasadam?
I believe it's 2 o'clock. We should know it.
For sure? Okay. Okay. Oh, everything's on time in Germany except RT, right? Okay. Okay, we'll tell one story and then we'll take a break. Then we'll take prasadam and I think we'll come back at what time? 4:30? Take down, and we come back here at 4:30? Is that good? Okay. If, usually after you take prasadam, there's a phenomena called eyelids closing. You ever have that phenomena? You know, like about an hour after you take prasadam. You forget like who you are, where you are, what you are, and the eyelids close. Ever have that experience? If you haven't had that experience, just eat a lot of chapatis for lunch and you will have it. I guarantee that. And lots of potatoes will help also. The more starch you have, the heavier the eyelids. So, the most difficult time in any japa workshop is after prasadam. Because I have to constantly wake devotees up, tell jokes, get them to stand up, jump up and down, Prabhus. We jump up and down. 15 minutes later, the wheat and rice and potatoes are floating in their brain. So, if it's possible and you are tired, I'm not saying you would be, but if it's possible and you are tired, take a little nap before you come, even if it's just because it's really hard for you and for me as well if you're tired and we're trying to like stay attentive. The first half is always easier for you than the second, but if you have a little rest, if you need, I just lay down in my chair. So usually my body doesn't need it. It's just from here up needs it, you know. So if you have time, you can do that. Okay, so here's the story. You want to hear the story?
Yes.
This is really, I think, one of the most interesting stories about being real that you will ever hear. And the beauty of this story is I was there, so it's not secondhand. You know secondhand stories, third, you know. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. But I was there. Okay. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't feel like telling it. I'm hungry.
Now we want to hear more when you say.
That's the idea. That's the idea. There was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He was a sannyasi and a guru, and he did amazing preaching around the world, opened up many preaching fields. But at some point in his devotional service, he developed a problem. It was kind of an addiction. And he fought it, and he conquered it, but then again, it would come back and conquer it, and then again, come back and conquer it. And he never fully conquered it. And then, he had gotten cancer, and about 2 years before he got cancer, 2 years before he was, they thought he would live about 2 years. He revealed that I have this problem and I feel like I need to tell my disciples and tell the world that this is something I've been challenged with, and I've now succeeded in my last days, but I don't want to die without you knowing the challenge I went through. So that was his idea. He had discussed that. I was there. Other devotees were there. We had devotees on the phone. And we're thinking, well, you don't have the problem now. Is it really necessary? And would it not be better just to, not disturb anybody because you're over it and what would be the value for it? It could break the faith of people or just disturb people's minds. And we said, okay, we'll talk more tomorrow, about what we should do. So I wasn't staying with him, I was staying about an hour drive away, or hour and a half. And every morning, myself and Jayadvaita Swami, some others, we would go to see him. So the next morning we came and he said, I already posted online. Now everybody knows my problem. I'm like, okay. Now what do we do? Because when you post something online, what happens? It explodes. And you say one thing and people assume something else. Have you seen that?
Sure.
Mahatma Prabhu went to Cologne. I know I went to Cologne. He's got a motive to get something from the temple. He's going to take over the temple. Like that, like assumptions. Isn't it? You don't have to worry about me taking over the temple. I made a vow the last time I was temple president that I would never become temple president again, and I've kept that vow strictly. And I don't intend to break it. So, of course, Krishna may have another desire, but... So, then I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. So I'm going online, see what people are saying. And then I thought, well, the worst thing that anyone's going to say is coming from these devotees who are known as Ritviks, because Ritviks don't believe that Prabhupada wanted any of his disciples to be guru. And this devotee was a guru. And they're always looking to find gurus who make mistakes. So they can say, told you, Prabhupada didn't want anyone to be gurus. And so if a guru makes a mistake, they can say, see, another one made a mistake. And so they publish magazines which delineate the mistakes of gurus. That's basically what the magazine's about, find a guru. So they got me on one issue. Like, I was really bad. I have to admit, the fault they got me on is my wife's Facebook photo. Her head isn't covered. So that's what they got. So you understand where these people are coming from? They're, yeah. Well, I thought, if that's the worst thing I ever did, I guess I'm pretty good, I married a woman who doesn't cover her head on Facebook because, of course, she's a professional counselor, so that's, that could be one of the reasons. What do you think? Okay, so then I went to the Ritvik site. I thought, this is going to, this is really going to be the barometer, the pulse of how this issue is going to go around the world and what we're going to be dealing with. And this is what they said. And this is amazing. And I'll tell you after lunch. Exactly at 4:30 I will tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. It's a good way to get you to come on time, isn't it?
You should do it like that.
We're giving out 100 € notes if you come at 4:30. That could work also. So, this is what they said. They didn't say much. This is what I remember. They said, this devotee did something no devotee has ever done. They admitted a huge fault they had, with one of the regular principles. They admitted it. Usually it's like somebody finds out and say, so-and-so is doing this, and then you go, are you doing that? Let me see your computer. It's like, okay, I did it. But nobody comes out and says I did it until you can't say no, because there's tons of evidence on you, right? So he came out voluntarily, and he didn't have to. It's like nobody thought it was a good idea. Maybe it was a good idea, but nobody at that point thought it was a good idea, so he didn't have to do it. So this is what the Ritvik said. First line is, another one has fallen. Because they're looking for the next one, And I'll tell you a funny story after. There's a devotee who's the head of the worst propaganda for the Ritviks, because there are different Ritvik organizations. And his name is Paranjana. And if you ever see any really vicious attacks by Ritviks, or cartoons with gurus with horns and things like that, if you've ever seen it, that's Paranjana. He's evil. in many ways. He wants to see Prabhupada's movement better, but he's a bit out of control how he tries to do it. But this is what he said. Another one has fallen, but at least he was honest. Wow. The first good thing the Ritviks ever said about a ISKCON guru. At least he was honest. Wow. Isn't that amazing? Honesty is so important. That's not only a Vaishnava quality, but as a quality of a highly moral person. That it even impressed the Ritviks, who have never said one good thing about any devotee, ever, until this happened. Isn't that amazing?
So it was a good idea.
It was a good idea. It had a good idea. And we thought, okay, when the disciples find out, this is going to be a problem. Guess what happened? Everybody said, I can't believe the vulnerability and humility of my guru to say that. And it strengthened their faith. Wow. You would think it would be the opposite, but it strengthens. It's like, what kind of humility must a person have to admit this? Right? So if we are vulnerable, if we are honest about our faults, it's appreciated as a sign of humility, of strength, isn't it? So you never want to pretend to be someone you're not. It's the worst form of pride. It's condemned in our scripture. It's the opposite of integrity. You want to be what you are. Who you are, it's okay, whoever you are. We're conditioned souls. We don't try to pretend we're somebody we're not. And that's the best lesson, I think, we can share. I mean, look at, people appreciated so much what he did. I think, he's a big guru, you got to pretend like, you ride in on an elephant, and, you got to look down at everybody. No. That, if you're actually humble and vulnerable and admit your mistake, people are like, wow, this is Krishna consciousness. This is what it's all about. That's the example, he said. Now, here's the funny part. So this Puranjan character, right? The one who is the Ritvik, if you could find a Ritvik worse than him, they haven't been born yet, because I haven't seen him. He is so offensive. And you know whose fault it is? It's my fault, because I made him a devotee. In 1970, I met him in San Jose, California. We had a little temple. I preached to him and he became a devotee. It was the worst thing I ever did in my life. So here's the funny story. He's not a bad guy. He's actually, his intentions are good. He wants Prabhupada's movement to be clean, He's very outspoken if there's any problem in ISKCON that needs to be cleaned up. So that's good, but maybe a little too outspoken. So he's there. I'm visiting a temple in California. I don't live in California now, but I was visiting, and he was there. And I probably haven't seen him since like 1975, and there he is. And he looks at me and he laughs. He says, "You're probably pretty upset you made me a devotee, right?" I said, "Yep." So yeah, that's the Puranjana story, yeah. Hare Krishna. So we'll see you at 4:30 and you'll all be awake, right? Yeah. And limit your number of chapatis, because the chapatis are the culprit. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
I'm sorry I came late, but I'm here.
Good.
Good. Maharaj, do you like to take food with us or on your...
I think I'll take upstairs.
Yes, absolutely.
That's okay.
Yes.
Ja, ist okay. Isn't that an amazing story? I think that story is like so important.
When my guru once asked me to be honest, and it took me years to get an idea what it was about. It took me years. After 3 years, I was like, oh maybe there's something. And then unfolded slowly.
What was the fear? What was the fear of being honest? Or you didn't know how to be honest? Or what?
No, it was the habit of pretending.
I wasn't used to being honest.
I never learned.
Oh.
Be honest with myself. I mean, not like, of course, if I'm not honest with myself, I'm cheating not only myself but everyone else, including Krishna.
Yeah, like a nice exercise we do, like when we do the Govardhan retreat. It's like, what are you afraid to admit about yourself? Like the thing you're hiding, you don't want to face, and you got to face it.
Yeah.
But you know, once you face it once, then it's kind of like it's easier to do it the next time.
Yeah, and it stays in constant exercise too. I see it as an achievement when I made it to be myself, vulnerable somehow.
Well, it's also necessary for relationships, because your wife's going to say, you know, you do this, and you don't want to say, no, I don't. Which we often do, right? So like, oh, I do this, I didn't know. Really, let me think about it. I'm not afraid to acknowledge. How can you improve if you don't acknowledge?
First become conscious.
Yeah. Not easy, right?
Takes some time.
You know about spiritual bypassing, so you know, I'm not going to think about all this honesty stuff and vulnerability. I'm just going to chant Hare Krishna because that's all you have to do. Then I can just hide behind the Maha Mantra and think I'm doing everything. Right? Oder? How do you say right in German?
Richtig? Richtig?
Richtig? Richtig. That sounds like drishti. Drishti means to see. I'll just say drishti. See drishti?
The Germans will not.
I have a question. Because fortunately, from one side, and unfortunately from other side, I cannot be present at 4:30. I have to leave my daughter from kindergarten. And you said that when you're chanting, you're not chanting directly to Krishna. You said that it's like a shadow, that you do it.
That's improper chanting.
Can you please tell me what you mean?
Means you're making offenses. So Krishna's not fully present in his name. It's like if you don't have some consciousness of the deity, like this is Krishna, you don't see the deity with some devotion, you won't see it as Krishna. Right? So it's just a reflection, it's not really him. I mean, it is him. Maybe to him, he sees it as Krishna, but maybe you don't. So for him it's Krishna, for you it's not. So you don't get the purifying effect like he gets. So the holy name, I'm not chanting properly, so I'm not experiencing it as Krishna. It's only, my experience is a shadow of the power of the name. It's not the real thing. So then I don't get purified. Or the purification is slow, very slow. That's the idea.
So that it's like more abstract, that I'm not
like a shadow. It's like
imagining, oh, here Krishna looks like that. I just do it like
that's okay. It's not necessarily abstract. You know who Krishna is, and you know you're chanting his name. But if you're distracted, you're not feeling it, you're not praying like that, then it could be that Krishna's not present. Especially there's a mood of chanting where we're praying, Krishna, help me, purify me. So when that mood is there, then everything is good.
Do you have skis?
Everyone's taking here?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'll take here.
Oh, nice, okay.
So it's. I think the example of the deity is the best example. If the deity's there, it's Krishna. That doesn't mean I experience it. Because if I don't have the heart and the mood to see the deity, I just think, it's just a statue, just an idol. So I could see the holy name that way also. The sound. And I'm not chanting according to the rules to avoid the offenses. So then Krishna has to incarnate in his name, and he's not incarnating in his name. We're seeing it as something material. Does that make sense? You're welcome. Hare Krishna.